One of antiquity's most interesting tales is that of the Greeks who conquered the most remote parts of Asia. Our understanding of this realm, which is located on the border of the known world, is obscured by mystery. But in 208 BC, it took part in one of history's most exciting conflicts as a burgeoning kingdom, battled one of the greatest warlords of the ancient world for its very life. This is the tale of two Greek monarchs who fought it out for supremacy in what is now Afghanistan. After Alexander the Great passed away, his kingdom would never be the same. The so-called Wars of the Successors broke out amongst competing, ambitious leaders in his empire almost immediately. After many years of conflict, Hellenistic dynasties such as the Ptolemies, Seleucids, Antigonids, and eventually the Attalids, would rise throughout what had once been Alexander's realm. There was, however, a separate Hellenistic state that was located far from the Mediterranean. The area of Bactria was in the Far East. Bactria's fields were among of the richest in the known world, rivaling even those on the banks of the Nile, because to the abundant Oxus River running straight through its center. Due to the area's richness, these fertile fields generated an abundance of different cereals, grapes, and pistachios. But Bactria was ideally suited for more than just farming. The difficult Hindu Kush mountains, to the east and south, had several silver mines. The Bactrian camel, one of the most powerful pack animals in antiquity, was also available in Bactria. Indeed, Bactria was a resource-rich area. Bactria was ultimately placed under the solid control of a Macedonian general by the name of Seleucus, after 15 years of internal unrest following Alexander's death. The area would continue to be a wealthy outlying province under Seleucus and later his heirs' rule for the following 50 years. Bactrians and Greeks coexisted peacefully in Bactria under Seleucid control as the country's riches and prosperity gradually grew. By 260 BC, Bactria's wealth was so spectacular that it earned the nicknames Jewel of Iran and Land of 1,000 Cities. Diodotus, the satrap of Bactria, recognized his opportunity when he noticed the Seleucid emphasis shifting from Asia Minor to Syria and toward the west. Around 250 BC, Andragoras, the Parthia satrap who ruled nearby, and Diodotus both proclaimed their independence from the Seleucids. They would no longer be subject to a distant royal dynasty in Antioch. In doing so, Diodotus ended Seleucid rule in his realm and ascended to the throne. He was now the monarch of Bactria, not just its satrap. The Seleucids originally took no action since they were preoccupied with their own internal issues. But eventually they would appear. Diodotus and his son Diodotus II will govern Bactria as kings for the following 30 years. But it couldn't continue without difficulty. Diodotus II made a choice that many people think sealed his doom in around 225 BC. By 230 BC, one kingdom to the west of Bactria was growing uncomfortably powerful, Parthia. In 225 BC, the youthful Diodotus II drastically changed this by signing a ceasefire with Arsaces and putting an end to the conflict. Diodotus didn't stop there. He took things a step further by forging a partnership with the Parthian monarch. This action was probably exceedingly unpopular among Diodotus' powerful Greek subordinates in Bactria. Many believed that Diodotus betrayed the cause of the Hellenic people by making peace with Parthia and openly forsaking his fellow Greeks, in favor of a barbarian in this cultural conflict. This action infuriated many, and soon rumors of insurrection grew. Euthydemus, one individual, moved swiftly. Euthydemus responded quickly after Diodotus approved of the disastrous Parthian alliance. In a fit of rebellion, he slew Diodotus II and ascended to the throne of Bactria. The Diodotid line had quickly come to an end. The next king was Euthydemus. To the west, however, Bactria's old kings had different ambitions. There was a new Seleucid king in charge in 223 BC. In addition to being youthful and ambitious, he had a burning ambition to take back Bactria and the east. Antiochus was his name. Antiochus inherited a nation that was in decline when he ascended to the throne in 223 BC. The ancestors of Antiochus had lost control of all of Bactria, Parthia, and considerable portions of Syria. The powerful realm of his forefather Seleucus all those years before looked nothing like the Seleucid Empire of 223 BC. The Seleucid Empire was eroding gradually. Antiochus sought to reverse the Seleucid rot and establish undisputed Seleucid dominance in Asia. It wouldn't be a simple process. He would need to reunite under his control territories that stretched from Macedonia in the west to India's borders in the east. Antiochus didn't give up though. Antiochus had enjoyed varying degrees of success by 210 BC. Despite facing significant obstacles at first, including Ptolemy IV at Raphia in 217 BC and the impostor Molon, the nascent Seleucid was able to swiftly bounce back and recapture a sizable portion of Asia Minor. Antiochus now moved his attention away from the eastern Mediterranean after his recent success. The moment has come to go toward the east and re-establish Seleucid dominance all the way to India's frontiers. For this historic voyage, Antiochus assembled a large Seleucid army. According to the historical source Justin, there were 100,000 men present. However, this is probably an exaggeration, and we might assume that the Seleucid Expeditionary Army had a total strength of between 50 to 70,000 soldiers. There were at least 15,000 heavy infantrymen, who made up the bulk of Antiochus' army and were prepared to form the Macedonian phalanx, as well as a powerful cavalry contingent of at least 6,000 men. The Silver Shields, a 10,000-man division named after Alexander's legendary infantrymen, was Antiochus' premier corps among these foot soldiers. 10,000 peltasts, 2,000 Cretan archers, and a large number of mercenaries were also among Antiochus' army. Beginning in the year 210 BC, Antiochus left for the east after gathering this sizable force at the Central Asian city of Seleucia. His amazing journey had started. Success came quickly to Antiochus. After entering Parthia's territory in 209 BC, resistance disintegrated after a year. The southern Parthian towns of Tambrax and Syrinx, as well as Hyrcania, were all recaptured. Arsaces II, the next king of the Parthians, formally requested peace and submitted to Antiochus. Antiochus had achieved his first goal. Parthia was now his. Next was Bactria. But Euthydemus had no desire to share a similar destiny. The Bactrian king assembled a large army and marched toward the Seleucid king in the west. Without a doubt, the Bactrian army was strong. His army nucleus would have included Greek colonists who had received Macedonian training, and it would have been backed by excellent Bactrian light infantry who were adept at fighting in difficult terrain. Not only that though, Euthydemus' army included a variety of exotic animals, including fearsome Indian war elephants and a sizable contingent of Bactrian camels in his supply train. In addition to all of this, Euthydemus also possessed a force that was more valuable than the others: his 10,000 Bactrian horsemen. Bactria was well known for its horsemen throughout the Persian Empire era. Unquestionably, some participated in battle with bows and javelins as light cavalry. However, the Bactrian cataphracts, who were massively armored riders who could smash practically any foe with their sheer weight, were Euthydemus' most potent cavalry. Elite Hellenic companion cavalry regiments probably served alongside as well. It was one of the most formidable cavalry formations in the known world. And Euthydemus was aware of it. When Euthydemus learned that Antiochus' army was encroaching on the Arius River, he dispatched his 10,000 skilled cavalry. They were given the straightforward directive to block Antiochus' soldiers from crossing until Euthydemus and his entire army arrived. The Arius would be the place where Euthydemus would take a position. However, Antiochus refused to play Euthydemus' game. When he was 3 days' march from the river, he received word that Euthydemus' cavalry was stationed on the Arius' far side, anxiously awaiting his arrival. He marched his soldiers towards the river without delay. For 3 days, the Seleucid army marched steadily toward the Arius and the enemy. When Antiochus' army came within a day's march of the river, he devised a clever idea. Antiochus' spies had disclosed much about the Bactrian cavalry awaiting him, as well as a vulnerability in the defense. His scouts also learned that the Bactrian cavalry was not always stationed near the Arius River. Antiochus recognized a chance. Antiochus made his move that evening as the Bactrian cavalry retired to their comfortable night quarters. The Seleucid monarch assembled his cavalry and light infantry, totaling about 15,000 men, and began a quick march toward the river. He then gave the remainder of his army orders to continue the march the following morning. The maneuver was completed almost precisely. The following morning, when the sun rose, Antiochus' chosen force had not only arrived at the Arius, but the majority of it had also passed through without any resistance. They understood that the Bactrians would soon be upon them even if the remainder of Antiochus' army was still some distance behind. But Bactrians arrived earlier than anticipated.
Over there is an army of fools, brought to the field of death by lies and falsehoods. Our swords, spears, and arrows will kill them, but the true cause of their defeat and deaths is idiocy. Make ready! Our honored ancestors are watching today. We have a proud tradition of courage, honor, and bravery to match, and I know that you will not be found wanting. Now, the hour approaches. Make ready!
Seleucid hearts sank as the last of Antiochus' troop was about to cross. 10,000 enraged Bactrian cavalry charged them, astonished by the daring maneuver of Antiochus' troops. They were adamant on driving their adversary back over the river. And to top it all, they now had a brilliant chance to either slay or, even better, capture the gifted Seleucid ruler. The battle was coming. When Antiochus saw the Bactrians moving forward, he would not back down. However, the majority of his army was still not organized for fight. Time was necessary. But the Bactrians had no desire to give them any. Antiochus took action. The Seleucid king signaled the charge after assembling his 2,000-strong bodyguard. Antiochus believed victory would be at hand if his small, elite group could hold the Bactrians off long enough for the rest of his army to gather. However, there were significant hazards associated with the plan. Would it be profitable? The Bactrians and Antiochus' guard promptly engaged in combat. Both sides engaged in heavy combat. Antiochus' guards fought valiantly to protect their monarch, first with a spear and then a sword, while the Bactrians were as eager to push their enemy into the river and retake control of the bridge. A breakthrough eventually occurred when Antiochus and his guard decimated one of the Bactrian cavalries. The Seleucids were beginning to gain the advantage. The Bactrians, however, were far from done, and two further squadrons had now assaulted the Seleucid royal guard. Any advantage Antiochus' cavalrymen felt they had disappeared in the blink of an eye. The Seleucid royal guard quickly started to endure terrible suffering. Many of them, including Antiochus, were forced to battle on foot when the majority of their horses were slaughtered from beneath them. Antiochus persisted in resisting in spite of this, inspiring his men with his bravery. According to Polybius, the king had a horse slaughtered beneath him and lost some of his teeth by a blow on the mouth, and his whole manner won him a reputation for bravery of the greatest sort. Antiochus' bravery displayed at the Arius would prove to be one of his best acts. However, despite the king's gallantry, Antiochus' guard quickly started to falter. Antiochus appeared to be in a hopeless situation as the Bactrian rope tightened around the Seleucid necks. However, the conflict was reversed just as things appeared to be getting out of hand. Antiochus' surviving cavalry had at last organized themselves while he and his guard fought valiantly against their numerous Bactrian adversaries. Also, when Penedalus, one of Antiochus' officers, saw that the 2,000 cavalrymen were almost all dead, he gave the order for his peltasts to rescue Antiochus. They charged the Bactrians without any hesitation. The result was disastrous. the Bactrian cavalry was devastated. Those that remained withdrew from the river to rejoin Euthydemus' advancing army. Antiochus and his bodyguard had won an almost impossible battle. Upon seeing his shattered horsemen rejoin his army, Euthydemus was aghast. His foe had shattered his elite corps and had already crossed the Arius. Realizing he could no longer hold his enemy at the river, he hastily ordered his remaining forces to retreat. Regrouping with the rest of his army, Antiochus advanced into Bactria in pursuit. Yet although Antiochus may have won this battle, the war was far from over. But it is a discussion for another day.